Hi, everybody. Today's Getting to Know You episode is about how I got into mobile and mobile SEO. This is a question that I get a lot, and it's got a lot of background to it. So a couple things. The first time I ever thought about mobile marketing was when I was applying for jobs, and this is back in the day. When Monster.com was how everyone applied for jobs. So I was using Monster.com and I was hitting apply to any job that sounded interesting, and not even always reading the job descriptions until I had something scheduled, because I figured the onus was on them to read my resume and decide if I was a fit rather than the other way around, which is kind of a ballsy move. They say that women look at jobs the opposite way. They look at job qualifications as like, you must be able to, and men look at job qualifications as you must be able to learn to. And I just didn't even look at the job qualifications at all. So I don't know, maybe that makes me neutral gender. But then I would look at the job qualifications after I had scheduled the in-person interview. And I got an interview with a company that said they did mobile marketing. I was like, that sounds so cool. Because at the time, cell phones were just getting smart. We still had MDAs and flip phones and razors, stuff like that. So I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. Maybe it's text messaging, maybe it's mobile websites, who knows what. And literally, I did read the job description, and it didn't mention technology, but it did not mention technology. It's very vague, not a really well-written job description. So when the day of the interview came around, I drove to the address, and I was getting closer and closer, and it was in a really industrial part of town, and I was like, what is going on? I expected this to be in a big building, a high-rise or something. I thought they were tech geeks. But nope, we were out in the industrial district, and I pulled in and went inside and sat down. Well, let them know I was there and sat down and waited to be called in. And they jumped right into questions. And I have 2 degrees, one in marketing from business school and one in graphic design from an art school. And so they started asking me about my background, what I had been doing. I said I'd been doing web design and building websites. And they said, oh, and tell us more about your design background. Do you like design? What kind of designs? Stuff like that. And it was literally 30 minutes into the interview when they handed me a binder, because they had asked a couple questions that I clearly looked confused about. So they handed me a binder and they said, this is what we do. And it was a binder of horse trailers that had been wrapped with marketing messages. So their understanding of mobile marketing was wrapping trailers and cars with marketing messages. And honestly, that wasn't a deal killer, because I have the graphic design degree. Like, that's marketing. I was kind of open to it, but I didn't really want to be working in the industrial district is what I ended up. But I stayed for the whole interview. I was still trying for the job, but that was the first time that I thought about mobile marketing as a way to go for my career. So I ended up shifting from the job that I was in to working at a SEO shop, not doing mobile marketing. But when I switched from the job that I was at to the next job, because I'd been building websites, and then I went to work for this digital marketing shop, and they gave me a nice raise, and they had this huge office that they had yet to fill out. So I was the only person in what I called the big office, which was like the big central area. Everyone else had their own window offices, but I was in the big center area, so I called it the big office. And so I had the big office, and I had gotten a big raise. And so that was the first time that I could actually afford to go get a fancy smartphone. And all of these perks, right? More money, nice office space, people who treated me really well, which was different from their previous job. And then they didn't have enough work for me to do. So since I had gotten this new smartphone with the money that they had paid me in my salary, and I was sitting there just waiting for them to hand me work to do, I started doing searches on my new phone and noticing that they were different from the Google results on the computer. So I started just making notes about why they were different. And then I started to go look at the websites and understand why Google was or wasn't ranking them, or at least try and figure out. Because my thought was, well, maybe the people who were building mobile websites at the time, because this was when separate mobile sites were still a big deal, like .mobi was still a possibility. People were thinking it might work out. But there were still WAP sites. So I just started looking to figure out why weren't the right sites ranking? Why were the wrong sites ranking? And what do the people who are building these mobile websites need to know about SEO to help them do a better job? Because clearly I had read the mobile development blogs and I was like, oh, they don't understand at all what Google's looking for. They may understand what works well in a mobile browser, but that's not what Google can even process. And so I just started making notes about the things that I kind of wished mobile web developers knew. And then started working on an article. And then all of a sudden I saw in my RSS feeds that there was a conference in Denver. No, it was in LA, that focused on mobile and local SEO. And I thought, oh, I'd love to go to that. That sounds really interesting. But then later, a couple weeks later, I got another notice about that conference saying that they hadn't gotten enough speakers submitting and that it was going to have to be canceled. So it was a last call for speakers to try and get enough speakers to talk. And they specifically needed someone to talk about mobile marketing. And at the time I thought, well, I've been looking at it. I haven't done it for any clients, but I have some ideas, and I'd rather than be able to do the conference if I can help keep the conference on and then maybe speak at it, then I could go to the rest of it. And that sounds like a good deal for me. So I wrote them an email and said, hey, I'm not sure if I really know what I'm talking about, but this is what I have in mind, and I could share what I know. And they snapped it up and said, yeah, absolutely, sounds great. But then that conference got canceled anyway. So they bumped me to a bigger show. They bumped me to a different SES Chicago. So this is, my first conference ever was SES Chicago to attend. And I think my first conference to speak at was SES Chicago. Anyway, so I went. And it just so happened that my very first talk, Danny Sullivan, who ran the conference, was the moderator. And I got up and talked about what we know now as cascading style sheets. And instead of having a separate domain, using cascading style sheets to style your content differently for mobile browsers. And this was a new concept. And I was very young. I think I was 25, maybe less. Maybe more? I don't remember. I'd have to do math. I was young, and I was on a stage with people who were older than me, better dressed, and more authoritative, all men. And they were talking about .mobi. And so I was worried that I had screwed up and somehow misunderstood the topic, or something like that. So when the talk was, and it actually got into a debate during Q&A because someone pointed out and said, you're saying to do this, but you're saying to do the opposite of that. And who's right? And luckily for me, I have a background in debate. And so I was taking notes on all the questions, and I was ready for the questions. And I said, it's a difference of opinion, but I really think I'm right. And then when it was over, the crowd started to file out. And the other speakers left, and Danny was still packing up. And I went up to him and I said, look, I'm so sorry. I really didn't mean to cause a fuss. I didn't mean to upset anyone. I didn't mean to contradict anyone. I'm just really sorry. And he's like, are you kidding? You knocked it out of the park. That was great. So that was my first experience, and my first experience with Danny Sullivan, and it was amazing. So that is the long story about how I got started talking about mobile SEO. Thanks for watching this video in the Getting to Know You series. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me your stories, what you want to hear more about. I'm just really excited to get to know you. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. To be notified about future videos, click the logo. And to try the MobileMoxie mobile SEO toolset, use the promo code YouTube to get 30 days free.